let's have a conversation about why gay men would continuously put down and degrade women on the job. I have a question here from a commenter. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. It says, hi, Dr. Jones. I enjoy your content videos and would like to ask an opinion about men who are openly gay, but seemingly enjoy putting other females down in the workplace or in general. If you could please talk about it. Thank you for asking that question. And, of course, I always want to put out the disclaimer. This isn't meant to be disrespectful or degrading towards anyone, but this post is meant to talk about a phenomenon that occurs that women are experiencing in the workplace. I'm not homophobic. I'll put that out there. But yeah, I can certainly talk about it. And the first thing I want to lead with, if you have men, whether they're gay or straight, but there's sort of this condescending tone towards women in general, where they're putting women down, or they want women to sort of kowtow to them, bow down, then they can definitely be misogynistic. I'm not sure what my hair is doing. It's kind of wanting to do its own thing. But they can certainly be misogynistic and they don't like women, and there are gay men that do not like women. I've done a post before, where I talked, a little bit about the interview between Jason Lee and Candace Owens, and some of the comments that he made to her on national television or podcast platform, whatever you want to call it, about women. And they were very derogatory, actually. He's been openly derogatory and actually has physically assaulted women on several occasions. So there is that. But you can have men, you can have gay men that like the essence of women, but don't actually like women, same as you would with straight men who actually like, all the benefits and the essence of women, but they don't actually like women. They don't want to talk to them. They don't want to befriend them. They want what they want from women, and then the women need to get the hell on away from them. So you can have that. You can have misogyny. You can have misogynoir, where these gay men don't like black women, so you can have that. There can be separate categories of that. The second or third thing I'll say, in sort of drawing from my own experience with this, in particular in corrections, and I worked in corrections for some time, and I'm in California, so homosexuality, LGBTQ lifestyle is pretty much the norm here, whereas in some of the red states and things like that, you may have a different sort of cultural nuance around that kind of stuff. But here it's the norm. But, I worked in California prisons in general. And what I will say in my work is, in the workplace in particular, I think the culture that the workplace develops is really more of a top-down. It's the progress. It is the result of how things are treated from the top down and systemically. So when I'm looking at cultural norms in the workplace, what I'm looking at is how management and leadership are approaching things and are approaching people in their environment. And so, whatever else goes on within the employees is going to be a direct reflection of what, the values and the norms that management and CEO and the people who actually own or run the place embody. So and the reason I bring up corrections is because when I was in corrections for a long time, although corrections was very much that good old white boy culture for a long time, it was really good old gay boy culture. And for a long time, leadership did not promote anyone who was not gay. So it almost became more of I don't want to say like a joke, but it would be kind of like a way when like someone who was not gay expressed interest in wanting to do a supervisor or a chief position, no matter what their experience was, they were not going to get it at my institution for the simple fact that they weren't gay. And I'm just being straight up. This is no bias with Dr. Jones. And there was a lot of people there, psychologists, so in the mental health department, they got a lot of special favors. So it was a system because of the top down and the way the leadership ran, where it was like anybody who identified as LGBTQIA was a protected class. And whenever you have people that are a protected class, and that can do no wrong, a lot of times what they're going to do is they're going to abuse their power. They're going to punch down in order to elevate. We see that here on a national level. It doesn't matter, gay, straight, black, white, whatever the case may be. You see that now on a national level. You see it. We see it across all areas where people want to simply elevate. So what are they going to do? They're going to punch down. They're going to steal. They're going to be nasty and underhanded towards that. And so a lot of that culture was, we would have people that would, even if they were a good worker, had good credentials, had strikes against their license or whatever, they were going to get promoted. They would get to do special programming. Hell, they would even get to basically show up to work and not really have to work for the simple fact of what they identified as and who they knew. And so it was a protected class. And that went on for a long time. There were a lot of qualified people that would never get to be seen or would never get to be promoted or never get to be in certain circles just because if they didn't identify with that same lifestyle as that management, then they simply weren't going to get it. And I have a lot of former colleagues of mine that watch me, that used to work with me in corrections, and they know, they might not say anything, but they know at the end of the day that what I'm saying is the truth. So finally, after, several years, as an aside, we finally got a new chief in there, and she sort of disbanded all of that, those politics that went along with that. But, long story short, or long story long, I guess, I'm saying all that to say that sometimes if your manager or the chief or whoever runs your workplace embodies that personality trait, and embodies that with a certain group or a certain population or a certain clique, then they'll allow that, and that problem will continue to fester and grow, unfortunately, like a bad sore, until someone does something about it or until you ultimately end up leaving the workplace. So it may be something that, for you feel like you can nip in the bud. Because for me, I certainly, talked back and nipped it in the bud quite a bit. But of course, a lot of people don't like that. When I do it and, they want to call me this and say I'm that, and you become a problem child. But if you don't mind being a problem child, having a target on your back, you can certainly speak up about it. But the problem may be bigger than you if it's a systemic issue. Hope that helps. Thanks so much.